Welcome back, everybody. This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And Ren, the Berserker Marabou. And this is...
SAGAS!
Ooh, welcome.
This is our 10th episode, isn't it?
Is it 10? Holy smokes. Well done, everybody. Congratulations.
Nice.
Happy
well,
days.
As you all know, this was Ren's choice this week, so if you don't mind introducing the album.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I just thought it would be something a bit interesting, a bit fun for episode 10. It's the album is called Legends from Beyond the Galactic TerrorVortex by the mighty GloryHammer. So yeah, man, I just thought these boys are so much crack, good fun. As I like to call them, the Intergalactic space metal heroes. Anybody that doesn't know anything about these guys, they're a British symphonic metal band, but they have so much more about them. They're the band was formed by the keyboardist of the band is actually the singer of Ailstorm. So there's a rich history there of like having fun with music within this band. So what's his name again? Sorry, I forget. Oh yeah, Christopher Bowes. So he's the brainchild behind this band. And obviously anybody that knows Ailstorm, they're pirate metal rum drinking madmen. So they're good crack as well. So this was his brainchild. There's actually a whole big story behind this band. Each member has a character, and it's a big long. It's very much like a fiction of the space kind. So they're more than just a band. It's very interesting. But this album in particular was their last album, and I went with this one because it's the last album that they actually had with their current singer, who was on the first three albums. It was a kind of we're still unsure as to why he was kicked out of the band or if he left. There was disagreements about different things, but ultimately they have a new singer now. So I'm interested to hear what he'll be like on the next album. He's doing quite well live, but the new singer is Sozos Michael. He has a strange name and a normal name, but the character name is Angus McFife. So he's now taking the role as Angus McFife. And Angus McFife is anybody who's listening to this that hasn't seen the band, they dress up in the most outlandish kind of costumes. I've heard them being described as less like Marvel and more like Guardians of the Galaxy with their costumes. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to crack on with some kind of what was your take on it when you first listened to them, bro?
Well, first of all, I want to address. So, what you said that they're apparently symphonic metal, but to me, this was straight speed/power metal. That's the vibe I got on this. Like there's a very niche subgenre of power or speed metal, depending on who you talk to. And to me, this was right up that alley. We're talking Dragon Force alley. I got a really strong like Dragon Force, like real fun, real creative, real like kind of the same intergalactic, fast-paced feel to it. And for the longest time, the lead singer, like his style, when I was listening, I was like, what does this remind me of? I even text you. I was like, what the fuck does this remind me of? Like I was trying to rock my brain, and then I finally got. I was like, Dragon Force. This is what it reminds me of. And so yeah, it was a real plus of an album. Obviously, like I said, normally most power metal bands try and do something larger than life. They always try to do something crazy and outlandish. And I think this one really, they pulled it off really well and had that real. They kept the intensity at like 100 the whole time with the album, and I really appreciate it because it's like not only are you being told a creative fantasy story, but you're being told it in a fast-paced way, which I think is important because you don't want the album to be dull. And this was the furthest thing from dull.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they've toured with bands like Hammerfall, Blind, Guardian, which is one of my favorites because they like to sing about Norse stuff. Stradivarius and all the major power metal bands. And these boys definitely have that in spades. The cool thing that they add is that, you know, that space, ancient warriors in space. You know, it's like made for an 80s cartoon. It really gives me a sense of nostalgia. Probably showing my age here now, but back in the 80s, in the cartoon era of the 80s, that's these songs would be absolutely ideal for for the theme tunes, you know. It just, and even the lyric content just makes you think of all these like space battles, and it's absolutely deadly. But you know, obviously that doesn't appeal to everybody. Some people are a bit too stiff, you know, they can't enjoy the theatrics of it, and you know, but so far I've heard nothing but good things. Everybody kind of gets it, what they're trying to do. Just fun power metal. I think some of the, I don't know whether one of the boys was from Switzerland. I think he might be the singer Thomas that left the band, but the rest of them are from the UK and Scotland. Obviously, the guy Chris is from Aylestorm. They're Scottish, so it's interesting that they came from the UK sort of direction, because usually bands like this are American, or you know. So I think that's a really cool. But the whole tongue-in-cheek thing is amazing. They're like extravagant and mega anthemic. Like every single song is just like a pure anthem. And I couldn't find out who makes the costumes, but whoever it is, I'm gonna find them because I want them to make costumes for me. They're so good. They're I mean, every member has a different costume, and like the drummers is real subtle. It's like an old, like something from G.I. Joe, the cartoon. It's like a what you call it, colonel kind of, but like there's a slight little bit of a space element to it as well. Like it's very, very cool. But on stage they're absolutely insane. Like they're technical. They're like the thing I love about them is I always talk about drums and technical things about drums. But the stuff that the guy does on what's his name again, Ben, he does some phenomenal technical stuff on the tracks. But he loves to reel it in and just play a solid beat as well. And the song really gets to breathe. You know, for example, what is it? Masters of the Galaxy. It's just in between like two super fast speed metal tunes, but it just has like this, like it's just a stomper, like just straight up power metal, you know. And he's able to kind of reel it in, which I absolutely love. I love that kind of approach where it doesn't have to be full on technical the whole time. Um, but you know, the thing I find really interesting about these boys is they obviously there's a brainchild behind it, Chris, but Chris seems to take a step back a lot of the times as well, which I find is really interesting. Like when it comes to the costumes and the characters and stuff, he's the main man about it. When it comes to the music, he likes to let the boys do their thing, you know, which I think is really 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 cool. Like seeing as he's already established name. But I'm just trying to think, the you know the intro song into the TerrorVortex, of Corvelate or something. It's it just sounds like something from Star Wars, man, doesn't it? Like it's like with that talking voice. I think it's really funny because the story is mega complex of the story behind the whole fun part of it. Like it's even the band. I saw an interview. The bass player, his character name is the Hootsman. His name is James Cartwright. But he said, "Listen, I can't even keep up with it. Like I don't know, I don't know the stories and what my character is supposed to have done and stuff." So I thought that was comical. You know, that it's that complex that he can't even follow himself. But yeah, I just, it's really interesting that there's some, like a lot of the fans, there's all this debate about why this character is doing this, what's this song was about this character, and they're all trying to decipher what's going on. Like apparently the bass or the keyboard player, his character name is Zargothrax, and he's like a mortal enemy of the singer, who is Angus McFife. So like, there's within the band, they're like mortal enemies and stuff. It's just comical, man. It's really good. But the cool thing about it is they can pull off this comical element, or not even comical, more like fictional sci-fi fun, because the music is so good.
Yeah.
You know, like they literally, I mean, it's the even down to the production of this stuff, man. It's like, you know, taking all the fun, you know, theatrical elements out of it. Musically, it's absolutely perfect. You know, the producer, he produced it, mixed it, and mastered it. It was a German lad called Lamert, I think his name is. Excuse me, Lass or Lassie. It looks like Lassie, but I didn't want to call him Lassie. Like, but I've seen his stuff. He's done some really, really cool work with different bands like Ailstorm, obviously. But he's just an amazing producer. And the fact that he done the mixing and mastering as well, it's just mind blowing for me, like, you know. And then you have, like, what do you think of the artwork, actually, bro?
Let me go back to it. Yeah, it's very, in a way, it's for an album so complex and so colorful. The artwork is actually quite stripped back. It's not as, you know, like, for example, like, I'll be using this reference a lot this whole episode because it's the main thing I think of. But if you look at like a Dragon Force cover, like, it's so like in your face, colorful, like this is just pretty. It's pretty chill. I mean, you know, you got the people at the bottom and the statue, the guy with the wand. But considering the gravity of the album, it's interesting they chose such a not a pale, but like such a stripped back, you know, such warm colors and like darkish background instead of something more bright and colorful and like technological that I thought they would do. But, you know, I have to say this though. I have to say, I find it interesting because what you said at the start of this episode, you said how a lot of people can't get into this because they're too stiff and they can't appreciate the tongue in cheek. Well, the one thing that I've always found irritating about certain people is that, you know, obviously you have lyricists out there. We'll talk about metal lyricists out there. You know, people like Val Vello, people like Danny Filth, people like, those are the two that come to my mind. It's like extraordinary poets, lyricists who can write the most extraordinary romantic, dark poetry lyrics. And obviously they're well respected as they should be. But then people don't understand this shit isn't easy to write. This kind of stuff, just because it's tongue in cheek, it doesn't make it easy. Like, can you imagine? And as you said, the past 3 albums are a continuation story. So, like, can you imagine keeping up with 4 albums that continue their story together? Like, that's fucked. Like, that's a lot of work. And the album title, the song titles, and then each song has its own progression of the story. Like, that shit ain't easy. And I hate how people look at this and go, oh, because it's tongue in cheek, it's easy. It's like, hey, yeah, you couldn't. No one could write this. You couldn't write this. All those stiff bastards who think this is easy. You try and write something like this. Like,
yeah, dude, you're dead right. It's movie worthy. Like, it really is. There's like, you can make a whole TV show, like 20 seasons out of this stuff. Like, the intricacies of the writing, how in depth the writing is. Like, each character has a huge story that spans across the universe, across the galaxies. You know, it's outrageous. But like, it's cool. The artwork, Dan Goldsworthy is the artist, and he's made some really, really cool albums. A lot of my, like, really, you know, a lot of my favorite albums, let's say, except Ailstorm again, Corpse Grinder, you know, his solo stuff.
oh, wow.
Yeah, they made his he made his album over Silosis, and, you know, in more brighter colors of the Zentric stuff. You know, that real, they would like their stuff to be real. It's almost borderline kind of thrash metal, over the top kind of covers, but he subtles them. You know, he brings, like you were saying, like, there it's a little bit more subtle, and I really love that. But yeah, it is. The other thing I find is really interesting is that they're signed to Napalm Records, and like, you know, you look at the lineup of Napalm, and they're just ferocious, like just mean badass bands. And these guys coming in, like it's kind of like without sounding too cliche, it's a breath of fresh air kind of thing, That's why I really wanted to do this, because I just wanted to, because I knew it was going to be sunny here for the week, and I wanted to listen to something fun. I knew these boys had it in spades, But there is like we were talking about the production, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's not just boys bashing away their guitars and singing about space and fighting goblins and everything. Like there's on say the second track there, Siege of Dunkeld, the Hoots, in Hoots we trust, even that's a clever title, like. But there's just an immense choir in that, and the chorus, the hook in the chorus in Hoots We Trust, is just unbelievable, with the 80s synths, like the use of the 80s synths. And when I say 80s synths, I mean like, Van Halen, jump kind of stuff, or the way Dream Theater would use them, and with the solo stuff, it's just absolutely unreal. And to think that he's the singer of Ailstorm and he's playing all this stuff, it's just pure epicness, But that song has just a monstrous, chunky, I don't know, just chunky riffs with just a mega solo. And, that deep, mystical, evil voice that they keep throwing in throughout the tracks. I absolutely love that. I'm going to have to figure out how he does it.
Yeah. So, the one thing I was thinking about when I was studying this album and writing my notes is power metal has to be the only subgenre. And I was thinking power metal, besides maybe the exception of prog metal, but power metal has to be the only genre where you find that 12, 15-minute track on the album and get excited. Any other band, any other genre that has like a 15-minute song, you're skeptical beforehand. You're like, oh, what could this be? Like are they just gonna fuck around for 15 minutes? But power metal, 9 times out of 10, if you see a 15-minute track, they're gonna put some Lord of the Rings style shit. It's gonna be like some fucking. It's gonna have a crazy intro. It's gonna have like an interlude. It's gonna have a middle. It's gonna have an end. It's gonna have an outro. It's just an insane thing. And obviously, I think they pull it off really well here. But it's just So to me, power metal. Whenever I see a band that's power metal, speed metal, whatever you want to call them, and you see a really long song in there, it's the only subgenre where I don't automatically go, oh fuck, like 15 minutes. Like, what have you done? Like, there's no need for this track, but power metal, I know what's going through their head. It's not just going to be a normal song. It's going to be some kind of crazy theater-like experience. And before I finish my point, one thing I want to mention, because it reminded me, because we're talking about this genre, and maybe because it kind of relates to this album too in a way. But to go back to Dragon Force, it makes me laugh to this day. It reminds me, there's a music video by Dragon Force. I forgot what song it was, but they were having a solo. It was like a 4-minute solo. And the cameraman turned to the lead singer of Dragon Force during the 4-minute solo. And he's just there eating chips. He's like, it is the funniest tongue-in-cheek response. But it's just like, because, a lot of people might say, oh, power metal, speed metal, it's too long, too many solos, not enough it's just all solos. And it's like, it's a fair criticism, but you can't say that power metal isn't a fun genre to just sit back and like rock your head to.
Well, that's it, man. I mean, like, I got to like say track 9 on this album, Battle for Eternity, and I was ready for battle, man. I was like, let's go, man. I was like, it's just the lyrics in these songs, and this one in particular, they're so outlandish and ridiculous that it makes them mega awesome. Like, ride an eagle to its doom. Have you ever killed a goblin on the moon? When you use words like wizards and unicorns and galaxy and traveling through time, I'm all in, man. I want to be in this. Bring me into this battle, you know what I mean? So that's track 9. So when you get to track 9, you're just pumped, man. You're just like, let's go, let's do this. And then they throw out all these wicked solos, like the guitar solos. The only way to describe the guitar solos and the keyboard solos in this entire album is bitching.
Yeah.
it's just they're just bitching, man. You know, and it's referring back to the 80s again. Like there's just it's just so awesome. But say the video for GloryHammer, I think was the name of the track. They have like a flying space submarine. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Flying space submarine.
yeah, like a space submarine. You know what I mean? Like they've like a whole fleet of these. You know, it's just like I'd say the boys just sit down in the pub somewhere in Scotland and just write out all these wicked ideas. You know, I love it. Like, yeah, I can't say enough good things about. I really really struggled to dislike anything on this album, to be quite honest with you. You know, no, I'm gonna stick with that. No, I did. There was, yeah, I watched a few live performances. The only thing I can say critically is the live performance, but he's been kicked out of the band now anyway, Thomas. So this could be one of the reasons. But there was a whole big thing about him at the Bloodstock. They played Bloodstock, I think it was 2021, and his voice kept breaking throughout the performance, which, you know, when you're touring like these boys, you know, he got a lot of flack for that. But I reckon that's a lot of flack from people that aren't singers and don't have to put themselves through this all the time. Because, you know, from 2013 up to 2021, they were touring like mega tours. You know, they went all over the place. Their 2014 tour was called the Unicorn Invasion of Europe. You know, straight away you're like, that's a really cool tour. But yeah, they toured a lot. So the kind of vocals that he does, it's that more operatic kind of stuff, and he's trying to put a bit of gravel in it as well, so it doesn't just sound, you know, too clean. It just give it a bit more tone, you know, to it, bit more sculpture. So by doing that though, especially when he's doing it live, it's you're lining yourself up to damage your throat, so or your vocal cords. So he obviously done that. By the time he got to there, and plus I think there was a gap there, or because of COVID there was no gig, so it's hard to get back into singing this high register with that gravel, and especially live, and you're trying to perform. But yeah, so I don't know. I think he got a hard rap for that. But I will miss his stage performance. The new guy is really technically good, you know. Sozo Michael, the new Angus McFife. But I don't know whether he has the same stage presence as Thomas did, because there would be some stages where they have this giant hammer, you know. It's like their GloryHammer. It's like this oversized Thor's hammer. And he brings it out on stage, and a goblin comes on the stage, because throughout all the songs, he's talking about killing goblins and fighting goblins on the moon and all this kind of stuff. So they bring a goblin out on stage, and he has this giant hammer, and he's like beating it's kind of like something from like Guar would do or something, you know? And they're like, he's, you know, beating on this goblin with this hammer. And everybody in the audience holds like blow up hammers as well. It's very cool. So, you know, I'd miss that in the stage performance, you know. But yeah, I on the record, I give him a good 10 out of 10 for his vocals. I think, you know, the performance on the records is golden. Like,
well, you know, talking about vocal, you know, like problems with vocals, like I've seen, like, it's funny to me because like this just triggered back memories, but like I remember, are you familiar at all with the metal, with the US band of Mice and Men?
Oh yeah.
Mice and Men. So there was a performance they did once back with the original singer Austin. I don't know if they changed the singer, but because I haven't heard of them in years, but they had the singer Austin something. And I remember watching a live performance. It was hilarious. He was going in for a breakdown scream, you know, and like halfway through it, he fucked up. His voice fucked up. And like, you know, he was so cool about it. He's just like, sorry, boys. And he's like, oh, let me try that again. And he's like, and like, it was like everyone loved how cool he could be about it. And then it's funny because on the other end of the spectrum, I watched the Slayer performance. Like, we're talking 2018, 19, like past the prime Slayer. And like, you see Tom Araya doing Angel of Death. He doesn't even try anymore, that high pitch. He's just like, It is the funniest thing. But my point being is that I find it interesting the different ways people, because, you know, obviously, if you're a lead singer, and obviously you've been a lead singer, like, only singers will understand the struggles, will understand the pressure, the hard work it takes to maintain vocals, let alone tour the whole world with doing that same vocals. But I just find it interesting how there's so many different perspectives people can take it. Obviously, for this band, they chose, who knows why, but they chose to go with someone else. Maybe they thought he was past what he could do. But I just find it funny how, like, some bands like Slayer, now they're just like, fuck it, who cares? And then you have, like, Almost Men back then who were like taking the piss out of it. They're like, sorry boys, let's try this again. And like, it's just like I just love how depending on the band you got different perspectives, and it just triggered my memory of like two different scenarios of vocal gone wrong. And it's just like, sometimes you don't give a fuck, and sometimes you just try to take it, you know, take it with a smile and try again.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what Thomas used to do here, the old Angus McFife. He, you know, his voice would break, but he'd be trying to reach some mega high notes, you know. So it's kind of like you can forgive him for that, you know. If he was trying to just do a normal kind of basic kind of middle octave sort of vocal, you'd be like, something's going on there. He's not looking after himself, but like, you know, he seemed to have a good work ethic, and you know, took care of his voice as well as he could. But I think it's just, you know, I don't know if we're humanly built to do stuff like this all the time. You know, like the boys will tell you, myself, some days my voice is absolutely on fire, and other days it's grand, but then afterwards you can tell the difference. So then when you're gigging the next day, you know, you can really tell the difference, you know. So, you know, I feel for people when I see them on stage and you hear how good they are on record. And, you know, you can only change a person on record so much. If they're not putting something good in, you're not going to get something great out of it. And what this guy has produced on those 3 records, and that's what I will miss. He does have a really great sound on record. And there's no producer in the world that's going to make you sound that good if you don't have the talent in the first place. So that's one thing I will say about him. But the bass player just strikes me as a really cool, down to earth kind of like Viking guy. His costume is stripped right back. It's just like a furry waistcoat, and he has the long beard and the long hair, and he comes out drinking his beer. And there's like one stage during the set, they'll stop. Everybody will go backstage for a breather. He'll come out on his own and just scull a beer, you know, like it's just like, you know, having fun with people, especially at festivals. He does stuff like that, you know. So he's just a big badass, you know. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that this band uses great as well is the usage of brass section, you know, like an orchestral brass section. It's they don't overuse it. They use it just where they need it. And, you know, they have this lovely trumpets and trombones coming in, and it just lifts the song, and it just carries it into that movie soundtrack sort of place, you know. And I absolutely love that. But as well as that, something that I wouldn't normally like, but these actually pull it off real well, is turning the keyboard runs into almost like a dance song. You know, you can imagine some of the keys in this, especially on I think it's the second last song, it's the last song actually. They just have this like outrageous dance synth, and like all they need is like a sort of beat in the background, and that'll be like a dance classic. I think it's brilliant. But yeah, that last track for me just was the perfect last track. You know, the very first song track is like what would you call that, bro? Like a talking introduction to like a movie or something.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and just this last track, then I think it just has a nice big climactic end scene kind of vibe to it. You know, I could imagine the heroes like charging into victory, and there's like this galloping drum beat. Like one of my favorite things is this galloping drum beat, and every now and then you'll hear like that triplet waltz kind of thing that Ailstorm use a lot, which gives it that pirate vibe. But yeah, no, I think that was you know, for me, it's really important for an album to start off with a really effective, awesome intro song and finishing off on top. You know, like when they kind of let you down at the end, it's kind of like, I think the album we were listening to last week, the last song just let me down. But yeah. So
Nice. Well, look, I've purposely not been talking about a song because I want to save it for our final segment. And before we get to that, I just thought I would get through some of the sponsorships I want to get through, and then you're cool with that. So I got 2 today. How exciting! I had 1 last time. I have 2 today. Actually, I had 2 last time. But anyway, so I want to start off with my normal, the Legion of, well, actually the Gas Digital Network. So if you guys are listening to my other podcast, if you guys have been regular listeners to our podcast, you know that the past 6 episodes I've been talking about the Gas Digital Network, which is a network which hosts like 30, 40, around that, shows of different comedy and different styles of podcasts and shows, hosting my favorite, Legion of Skanks, which is the world's most offensive podcast, hosted by 3 guys who take it to the next level for the sake of freedom of speech and for the sake of dark humor where you can't find it elsewhere. I'm sick of the PG era, and I'm sure Ren is as well. So it's a good kind of, it's a good breath of fresh air for those who are sick of what the mainstream has to offer. So if you want to experience that, and weekly they do a Zoom show and a live show, go to Gas Digital Network, where you will find promo codes everywhere for you to have a cheaper monthly subscription as long as you keep it. And even if you unsubscribe and subscribe, it's pretty cheap anyway. It's like $10 for me or something. So it's worth it for the shows you get, and not just Legion of Skanks. There's tons of other shows that I enjoy. Aaron's Berg's Base, which is another one I love, my second favorite on the show. Dude's a hilarious comic. He does random skits that just like totally offensive, but it's so funny at the same time. So go check that out. And lastly, talking about Metal Devastation Radio, our good friend, Ren's as well, Zac Moonshine, who is possibly the greatest PR man in the industry, bar none, as far as I'm concerned. He had a lot of help, as I've heard, helping your band. And I've seen all the work he's done with other bands. He's a workaholic. He's a monster. The way he gets through everything, the amount of stuff he gets done daily is just phenomenal. I wish I had a quarter of his work ethic. Great guy. Go check him out at Metal Devastation Radio, and yeah, Zac Moonshine. Go search him up, and yeah, I'm sure he'll help you whenever you need it. Yeah, great PR work, great guy in general, and one of the best in the industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, bro. Zac is the man. He's done so much for Ren Marabou and the Berserkers, and 100%, any bands out there that are looking for a leg up, he's the man to go to. Metal Devastation PR. Him and his good lady, I think she calls herself Raven on Facebook. They are an absolute monster team for the industry. So yeah, 100%. Speaking of people that help out, Viking Lifestyles is an amazing company that sell all the coolest gear. It's your one-stop shop for all your, Viking paraphernalia, Thor's hammers and oath rings and whatnot. So head over to VikingLifestyles.com and type in Ren Marabou when you're making your lovely purchase, and you'll get a 10% discount. So that's my little shout out today. Obviously, I'd like to give Big Sean a shout out from United Music Mafia. They're doing their streaming tour at the moment, and it seems to be going really well. So I'm happy to see that. All the boys doing really well. I think they have a metal night on tonight, so that should be badass. And also, as always, Sid, Mr. Sid Ryder from Inner Demon. Thank you so much. You could be listening to this on this show. If you are, thank you. If you're listening to anywhere else, Spotify or anything, go back and listen to the whole thing again. And then listen to it again and again and again. I'm only messing. Yeah, so that's the crack. So yeah, bro, you want to talk about your favorite song?
Devil's Advocate. It's time. It's finally time.
Yeah.
I think I can do a bell now. Oh, I tried.
That was a good effort, man.
Oh wait.
Good effort. Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to talk about this track because it's really interesting, our little setup, because we can't talk about our favorite tracks until we get to the end, which is a weird setup, but I like it because it builds suspension for So my favorite track, it'll probably make you laugh. Well, I mean this album's pretty tongue-in-cheek, so maybe not. But for me, the favorite track, I remember having a blast with this. I was like, this is the one track that really sparked my interest. I was like, oh shit. So the track for me that was the best track, in my opinion, The Land of Unicorns. Land of Unicorns was it. There's so many things I love about it. First of all, to me, I could be completely off on this, but to my ear, it sounded like in the background they were doing a loosely adapted version of the Final Countdown. It sounded like that beat, like dun, 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 dun. It kind of sounded similar, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is epic." I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like. I love. Also, they only do this in small doses in the song, but there are these horns or trumpet sounds that go off like every few minutes in the song, and I loved it. I don't know, it sounded more epic for the track having that. And of course, the very end, the last thing they say, which I find it absolutely hilarious, how the very end of the song, they scream, "To the land of unicorns," is just such a funny image, like screaming real intensely, "To the land of unicorns." I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, I can't get enough of that track. Definitely my favorite. Now for me, the worst track, I had two options between Brute Force and the title track, which would obviously be GloryHammer. I don't know, the GloryHammer title track, it just sounded, compared to the rest, a lot less energetic. It sounded a lot more kind of polished, a lot more average compared to, it's not a bad song, but compared to the rest, it just sounded more stock. Like it didn't have that energy to it, but I will still not choose that even though it was a choice. Brute Force for me was the worst. And for one reason only. Again, although I will say the Brute Force song, as far as the production value, was a better song than GloryHammer, but what kind of ruined it for me, I felt like I found the chorus was way too repetitive. They added that so much, like the same line. I forgot what the line was, but I could tell towards the end of the song, they kept repeating the same chorus, at the end, and I was just like, all right, we get it. Like you've said the same line like 5 times, and you know, most likely they were going for some kind of drony aesthetic, like, you know, sometimes that works. You say the same sentence over and over, and it builds up this drony, this like kind of meditation aesthetic. But for me, it didn't work here. It just sounded repetitive for just for the sake of being repetitive. And even though the production value was better than GloryHammer, the song, there was just a repetitiveness. I was listening to it and I was like, all right, move on. All you're doing at the end is repeating the same words. So that's just my harsh opinion.
Happy days. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on you again this week, man. Yeah, obviously, straight away, my favorite track is Land of Unicorns. Like, I mean, listen, if it's a song about unicorns and a land of unicorns and that whole visual of a land full of unicorns, I'm in, man. that's just like, that's too epic. Like, it's too epic. It actually makes me laugh that grown ass men such as myself and yourself, fully bearded, tattoos, you know, black clothing, the whole lot, and we just love the land of unicorns, man. You can't beat it. Like, it's you know, the track itself is everything that a speed metal song needs to be, everything that symphonic speed metal with a shed load of trumpets, chunky riffs, a bitchin' solo. It's a full speed ahead, or should I say a full speed metal ahead track. It's the technique used in it is just unbelievable. It's got that lovely trashy riff, it's like you could take that out and put that in like a trash song and it worked perfectly. The keyboard solo is very much just like a Dream Theater solo, which straight away just like, yeah, I'm digging that. Is that I forget his name, but the work that man does is absolutely epic. As far as I know, he's working with Darius on some new music coming up soon. Darius from the set, he's signed to the same management as myself. That song is an absolute winner for me from start to finish. The whole lyric, like you say at the end, throwing that in at the end as well, come to the land of unicorns. Like, I want to go there. Can we go there? Let's buy tickets, man. Let's let's jump on our flying submarine and go up to the land of unicorns. Apparently, it's far north as well, the land of the unicorns. It's far north in the galaxy, so that sounds even more appealing to me. So that's the fun one. My least favorite, I really struggled, man. Like I said during this, I found it hard to find something that I didn't like, and the only thing I could do is, and I get what you're saying about that Hoots Force, because you've got GloryHammer, and GloryHammer is just a huge, massive hook of a chorus, and it slows the album down ever so slightly, and then Hoots Force comes in, and Hoots Force is just like doing what GloryHammer done, but faster. And a bit more repetitive, like you said. So I was going that direction, but then I thought, the one song that for me had the least amount of dynamics and brought you on less of a journey. Like, I didn't feel like I was intergalactically flying through the cosmos listening to this one. I was a little bit, but just not as much. It's still brilliant. The Power of the Laser Dragon. Now, the title straight away is it's super badass. It's really cool. They have a really nice animation to go along with this as well. You can catch it on Spotify when you're listening to the track. But yeah, no, it's got a really great guitar solo. It's towards the end, it starts to pick up. I think it's like 3/4 way through. The guitar solo and the keys have like is it that track that they have like a back and forth? Yeah, it could be, but it's just, the sound of those instruments just sounds so good on the whole record, so you can't really fault those. But yeah, no, the track just had that little bit less little bit less flying submarine vibe off it. So that's my devil's advocate input for today.
Nice. Well,
yeah.
Next week is my choice, and I'm actually going to do a record recommended to me by Zac Moonshine. Oh. He sent me an album by I imagine an independent up-and-coming band. So I figured, fuck it, now that I'm now that I'm helping promote him, I may as well do that. And so the next week's album will be Revolution by Azflame. So it's
what are they called again?
It's Revolution by Aztlan, Aztlan. I'll send you the link after this. But
yeah, no, just it cut off there on my end. I couldn't hear what you said, so just in case.
Yeah, Revolution.
Revolution.
So, something like it's spelled Spanish. So
yeah, happy days.
Yeah, so apparently it's the way he says it, it's like a good blend of like. Apparently he says it's unique. Apparently it's folk death metal.
Oh,
never heard that before. So,
folk death metal.
I've heard folk metal, but I've never heard folk death metal.
Yeah, I've heard of folk metal and death metal, but folk death metal, that's interesting. Now, if Zac, suggested this, it's got to be good. So I'm looking. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. Also, one last thing. When the podcast finishes, stay on the video. I got to take on. So also, yeah, that's all. But yeah, it's been a good podcast, and yeah. So next week, Revolution by Aztlan. But yeah, I was gonna say it's a good podcast. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, just thanks everybody for listening again, and have a fabulous weekend. We're gonna do the same in space.
Same time, same place, or something.
Or something. Space submarines.
Great segue.